Good morning, students. So this morning I'm going to redo something I've done before, but I'm going to do it differently. A long time ago when I was really excited about having my laser, although I'm still excited about that, one day I thought, you know what I really want is a dice roller. I want a dice tower. It's a box. Basically, you drop your dice in and it tumbles and then it comes out the bottom. I'll show you. So on that particular day in history, I went onto the internet, which is hopefully available to me today, and it is, and I looked up the word dice tower and images, and I found, wow, there's some pretty crazy dice tower here, but I'm going to do a fairly simple dice tower, something like this one down here. Today I'm going to go ahead and make one. Well, you can kind of see this is the kind of concept right there. That's a good thing. So basically I'm going to create a box. It's going to look very much like that, actually, except for I don't know what's going on with these. There seems to be some sort of scroll there, a scroll wheel, but I don't know what that's about. But one way or the other, I'm going to create a box. You're going to drop the dice at the top. It's going to bounce here, there, and it's going to roll out over to here. Fantasy football dice tower is apparently what this thing is. This is basically what I'm going to make. I'm going to make a dice tower. Although I am going to take a look and see if there's anything else I kind of think is kind of neat. You know what? I'm going to make my dice tower. My son brought home something yesterday that it was a combination of wood and acrylic laser cut together. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it so that I'm going to use acrylic on the sides so that when you drop the dice in, you can see them roll. That's kind of a new change. Basically, I'm going to design something like that. So let's go to Sketchup 17. Open that up. And get started. Now, the last dice tower I made, I did for a large die. It was a 32-sided die. This time around, I'm going to be doing this for like a board game kind of thing. So we're going to make it a little smaller. I need to make sure that it's not so big that it takes up a lot of space on my table. I'm thinking the base should be 5 by 7s. 5,7. So 7,5 because I'd rather be working kind of in this perspective. Camera, actually no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start out by just kind of building the whole structure. I'm going to make the whole thing 6 inches tall. I'm going to have a 1 inch. Let's do 1.25 inches there. Push that back a couple inches. And now I've got something that is, let's see, it's 5 by 4 3/4, right, because it wasn't 5. Got it. I'm going to pull that up another 1/4 inch. So now this top area, as I understand it, is, if I have this done the way I expected, it's 5 by 5 by 5, and then it's got an area on the bottom that's an additional 1 1/4 inch. This could be whatever size you want it to be. I'm going to have each of you guys make something like this. It doesn't have to be a dice roller. You could use this as a concept and create something else. You could create a box if you wanted to for putting things in. You could design whatever you'd like to design for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to triple click on this thing and make it a group, because I'm basically just going to use this as something to work on, to build upon. Okay, I'm going to start out by doing this side here. So I'm using the line tool. Oops, I'm one on there. From there to there. There, into there. And now I have this side that I can work with if I want to. And in fact I am. I'm going to pull it out an eighth of an inch. So I can type in 1,8 if I want to. I could also have typed in 0.125. It would have given me the same thing. So this is basically the piece of board that we're going to be using. I buy wood at Home Depot that I can laser cut really easily. It's cheap, but it's easy to cut. Works nicely in my laser, and that's what I'm going to be working with. It's an eighth of an inch thick, which is what I want you guys to be working with. I want you to be making your material 1/8 of an inch thick. All right, so I'm going to use this tool right here. It's called the offset tool, and I'm going to click. And I'm going to, do I really want to do this? Yeah, I am. I'm going to pull down and I'm going to type that same thing, 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to come over this way and I'm going to measure every inch. So I'm going to do 1 inch, 1 inch. You could do different measurements if you want to. I'm trying to keep this fairly simple. I'm going to do the same thing going down. 1 enter. 1 enter. 1 enter. Now I'm going to draw in those little 1/8 inch lines. This will all make sense later on. You should definitely be watching the entire video before you try to design out one for yourself. 1 inch, 1 inch. I am not going to be cutting that one, I believe, because that's going to go all the way up to the top. But I think, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do over there. Let's see, I messed this up. Escape, click, click. Erase those incorrect lines. Oh, actually I don't need these ones on the top. I definitely don't need those ones. Don't need that because it says an open top, so I'm not going to be doing. It'll make sense later. Just pay attention and don't try to worry about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Just kind of watch. Now let's see, this is the side I'm going to, I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. Let's see. This is going to go all the way up here. So I'm going to erase this as well. I'm going to start erasing some of these things. Erase that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. And then also I'm going to erase, we'll get rid of this here. That and that. Now push through on that. And I'm just going to double click on, oops, that did not work. Control Z will get that back. Push that back to that point. Something didn't work right. There we go. If you do this correctly, you can double click and it's going to remember the last thing you did, but you got to do it right each time. And make that thing group, and let's take a look at it. Okay, let me edit, delete guides, and explain what it is we have here. So we have a piece of material here. It's 1/8 of an inch thick. It's going to represent the side. This is the thing that's going to be made out of plexiglass, actually. And it's going to have fingers that fit into these joints right here that come from this thing over here. And if that still confuses you, don't worry about it. It'll make sense in a bit. So I'm going to go ahead. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this, and I'm going to put it all the way to there. So I basically set it inside the original block. Okay, and actually, I'm going to take another one like this. I'm going to grab from this little corner right there. I'm going to hold the control button down as I click it, which makes a copy. And I'm going to move a second one over there because the two sides would be the same. Now another way you could have done that, as I just Control Z, you could select the object, you could type Control C, Control V to make another one. And then this one you can grab from that corner and put right there. Okay, so those are the two pieces of acrylic that I'm going to be using later on. Okay. Alright, next piece. I'm going to do the back now. Now the back, because I've got these two pieces in place, I can kind of just go over the whole thing with a line tool if I want to. There are different ways I could have achieved this, and I'm not even sure this is the fastest way. That makes me nervous. Why is there a gap there? Oh, I guess there isn't. Okay, so there's that. That's the back. But that back is not done yet because I'm going to need to be able to attach a bottom to it, which means that I also need to come up here from the bottom 1/8 of an inch, and I need to measure over those inches. And I'm going to need to remove some of these, so I'm going to remove the two in the middle. This time I'm just using a rectangle tool to draw in those. Okay, now I'm going to pull this out, Control Z. Pull this out 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to erase that line right there. Oops, that erased the wrong thing. Let's go back. You'll remember that the first time around I pulled the whole thing out. This time I'm going to push it back in 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to draw those two things. And then I'm going to push those in like that. And you can now see that piece of, that one's going to be made out of wood. And you can see how it fits into the first one. I'm going to make that a group now. Now I'm going to work on the bottom, which is basically very similar to what I just did before. I'm going to start out here and go around. Now I'd like you to be as creative as you can. You know, make your own dice tower. Don't need to make it exactly the same as mine. I went too far there. I'm going to Control Z, and that was this line here, so I can go back and redo that line because it only undoes the last thing you did. Oops. Okay, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and push that in 1/8 of an inch. And then I need to do this across the bottom. That one looks like I did it wrong. Okay. That looks good. Okay, now I only have 2 pieces left. One of them is this little thing on the bottom. Oh, that was wrong. I accidentally Control Z'd too far back, so I regrouped this thing, or I grouped this thing, and then I Control C'd back, and I was worried that I might have gone too far, and now I'm actually wondering about this. See, I've got a couple of things here that I don't want. I'm going to have to right click, edit group, and then erase that and that. And now it's still a group, right? Yeah. And I can put that thing back. Okay, where does this thing go? This spot right here goes right there. Alright, so now that makes more sense. It looks right. There was something wrong here because there were too many lines. Now it looks a little weird. And now it looks right. So now I go from here to there, to there, to there. And it's something, and I made a mistake somewhere. And this is part of the engineering trick, is that you need to figure out what's going on. See how that's green and that's not? Something's wrong here. Ah, I did not notice that earlier. It's missing the top. When I deleted that line, this is where you're going to get a little confused. I apologize. But it's probably a good thing to point out flaws with SketchUp. I deleted that line at one point. There was a line right here. There was a line right there that I deleted. And when I did that, it deleted this entire surface, which it should not have, but it did. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to explode this, which basically is ungrouping. Now, sometimes it does this for reason I don't know. It deleted that line, which is a problem. I'm going to heal that line by basically drawing any of these edges, and it usually will heal that surface. Well, there we go. Make that thing group, and let's put it back in place. Got a funky little line here for some reason. I don't know what that's part of. For some reason that's part of that thing. So let's edit that and delete that little bit. For some reason I don't know where that came from. Alright, let me check my work real quick. I've got that piece. I've got that piece. I've got that piece. And I've got that piece. And this is still that big box. And let's try this again, although alright, that seemed to have worked. Now I'm going to push that thing in 1/8 of an inch and make that thing a group. Okay. And you can see how far I've come at this point. I'm still missing that front piece. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and make that front piece. Push that in 1/8 of an inch. Make it a group. And then delete the inside. And there we go. So we've got ourselves a structure. I'm going to make this piece and this piece out of acrylic. I'm going to make the rest of it out of MDS board, I think it's called. Alright, so now I need to create the stuff inside that's going to make the dice roll. See, I'm going to be fairly random about that. I'm going to draw click like that. Now let's see. I want to make sure that the dice don't fall down. So I got to make sure that I'm going to put 1/2 an inch here. Controls in 1/2 inch from the actual inside of the box, which is there. Oops, 0.5. And 1/2 an inch from the back. And that's my kind of maximum area where I don't want to have a line that starts over here because the dice might fall behind it. So I'm actually going to start here and I'm going to come down. Actually, I'm going to start the other direction. I'm going to start here. And I'm going to come down. So as I toss in the dice, they're going to hit this and they're going to roll this direction. put in a second one here. And I need to concern myself with this gap here to make sure it's big enough that the dice are going to roll past. So I'm going to toss my dice in. They're going to hit this thing. And then they're going to go down here, hit here. They're going to roll down here, and then one last one. They're going to... I want to make sure they don't end up stuck behind this thing. So I'm going to come over a little bit higher and go from right about here. And I'm going to put them, I'm going to have it roll way down here. Because I have had issues with my dice roller at school in that sometimes the dice don't roll all the way out. And I want to make sure they roll all the way out. So I think that if I toss the dice in, they're going to hit here, they're going to come over here, they're going to hit here. They're not likely to get, I might even bring this up a little bit. They're going to hit here, they're going to come down here, they're going to roll, they're going to hit, and they're going to come down here. This gap here is over an inch. I'm going to actually shorten that one a little bit. I'm going to do that real quick so that when I delete that, it won't delete the whole line. I want to make sure the dice flow nicely and roll out on their own. Okay, now I'm going to go from here. I'm going to measure down this way, 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to... See how it turned purple? That's telling me it's a 90-degree angle from the other line that I drew. So I'm going to draw like that. I'm going to come back here and do the same thing over here. Wait till it's purple. Escape. And then I'm going to do that. And I'm going to delete that and that. Do the same thing here. I'm going to do this one down or up. I'm going to go back 1/8 of an inch. Green axis, I don't want green axis. There it was, purple. I don't know, where's my purple line? There it was, purple. Escape. And then I can do that and that. Okay. Then I'm going to do that again. This one I'm going to go down. Purple. Escape. Well, let me show you another way of doing this. You can go straight. Oops. Go straight. And then we can rotate that line. We can select that line. And rotate that line 90 degrees. And then that will basically give me the same thing. Okay, so this is where I'm going to put my inserts. Now, I'm going to actually delete that other side over there because I'm going to do something this side and then copy it again. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to explode. By exploding, I basically ungrouped it, which caused this which was touching it to join it. And I'm going to push that through to the other side. Do the same thing with that one and that one. And then I'm going to make this thing a group again. And I'm going to move a copy of it across to this side. go. So voila. Except I made a mistake. I'm going to Control Z all the way back to this point right here, where it's still like this, because I'm actually going to make this a little bit more interesting than this because of the finger joints. I'm going to go this way 1 inch. No, I'm going to do smaller things. Now, because I clicked on the midpoint here, when I went this way, it didn't do the measuring thing. If I click on a spot that's not the midpoint, then it will give me the measuring thing. I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch instead. Okay. Same thing on this one. Now, I recommend that if this is really intimidating, you start with a much simpler box and then move on to something more complicated after you've found some success. Don't start right out with something really complicated and then spend all day being frustrated about it. I think I'm going to leave it right there. Edit, delete guides. Now I'm going to erase some of this. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to push through the ones that I want to. I'm going to push on that and type in 1/8. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to do the same thing on this one and that one. That one, that one, and that one. Now I'm going to make this thing a group. And I'm going to move a copy of it over. Okay. So now everything is grouped. Okay. Now I'm going to make those shelves. Remember, a nice, simple, easy box is fine. You don't have to be as complicated as making a dice roller. I like to provide challenges in case somebody's really looking for. I could have pushed it 5 inches actually, I think. There we go. But I'm also going to have to I need to push this in. Oops, something's wrong. Control Z. Something wrong. I'm going to Control Z all the way back to there and then Control Y to bring that back. Let's try that again. So let's see. I need to remove blanking on here. Do I need to, it's getting confused. Alright, so I need to remove that center section here. Eighth of an inch, and that is actually correct. I did that correctly. My confusion is because I need to do something else later. I need to remove this center section of both of those. Something was wrong there. See how it's pushing the whole thing? It shouldn't be that way. Control Z. Click here, and there, here, and here. Should only highlight the center section. Oh, I know what's going on. No, I don't. Yes. See all these lines? They're on the inside of this one. But they're on the outside of this one. That's why I don't see them over here. It makes sense if I do this. If I pull this out for a second, and I pull this out for a second, you'll see that there are no additional lines on this side, but they are on the inside. See? And I'm going to want to edit, delete these lines later on. Close group. Edit, delete those lines. So thus I was getting confused about why I don't see some lines there. That goes there. That one goes there. Okay, so that looks correct. Now this one, you can see, if you look inside here, I can see that I need to remove, hard to explain, but you can see there's a line right here and a line right there. That tells me that that's where the hole is. So I need to remove the outside sections and the middle section is what I need to remove on this one. Push this thing back here, 1/8 of an inch, and this one I think, get that right? Get that right or wrong? That looks correct. And you can see that if I edit group, and delete the extra lines. So I can put this thing back in place.
We're going to go to a state park. We are going to actually probably use our feet to get to the river.
Okay, so that was, I need to remove that one and that one.
None of that.
Theoretically, waterproof boots would be very helpful.
Slides.
In the forest.
Oh, still confused. Which ones do I remove? I removed. Oops, something's wrong here. Oh, I did that wrong actually.
I don't understand what it was supposed to say. They're not gonna like scale down the side of us.
Okay.
Okay, you need to calm down. You're gonna be wearing some
I pulled the wrong ones.
because you're just gonna be sitting your butt
This
in
comes
the
out.
bathroom and getting your butt wet down the river. These are not the
And this one goes in 1/8 of an inch.
fancy pants and boots.
As does that one. So the this one
It was a t-shirt.
goes in
So you're just gonna
1/8 of
pull
an
all
inch,
that.
Yep, and they call it
as does that one.
30 minutes to do
30 minutes?
Edit group, erase that, erase that, Control Z.
I'm so smuggled.
Now that appears to be correct, hopefully. Let me make this thing a group inside here.
I didn't do that wrong.
that rubbish works.
I'll move it out of the way.
They'll do.
That looks correct. Control Z will put that back.
Blue running?
Okay, one more. So let's see. This one, you can see that I need to, you can see how this is shaded right here. That tells me that there's two things right there. So I need to remove the outside ones and the middle one. So let's start with this, and let's draw those lines. Escape. And let's push in here. So apparently that's wrong. So I need to push in the middle one. And then I need to edit group, delete that, and delete that. That looks correct. Control Z. So I need to push in the two middle ones instead. One eighth of an inch. 1/8 of an inch. And make that thing a group. Okay, so there's my dice roller complete. Now we can find images from the internet that we can engrave onto some of these surfaces as well. If you want to put an image onto the top of your box, we can engrave that into your box as well. We can discuss that next week when you bring this file to me. So let's see. I'm going to take this entire thing, copy and paste it, and I'm going to pull it apart. So I keep my original copy, and I pull apart this one. And once again, you can kind of get a better idea of how that was working. Okay. Now I want to lay everything flat on the ground. So I'm going to use the rotate tool. Degrees. 90 degrees. We're getting ready to laser cut it is what we're doing right now. That's why we need to put everything down flat so that we can create the file that we're going to need to laser cut this. This time I'm going to go down until it tells me I'm on, it's going to tell me I'm on the green axis or something. It's going to tell me on red axis. That's what it says. On red axis. Oops. This one hasn't, oops, Control Y. This one hasn't been grouped yet. Okay. So now all the pieces are lying flat. Now this one over here, by the way, is dark gray. There's another weird issue with SketchUp sometimes where it doesn't it does something weird. I'm going to show you how to fix that in case it matters to you. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to explode it. I'm going to right click on that surface. And I'm going to reverse faces, which basically erase that. I'm also going to erase those lines, by the way, because those need to go away as well. Looks like all those lines have gone. This one I need to explode and reverse faces as well. Not that it matters, because I don't care if they're gray or not. That doesn't make any difference to me. Is that still gray? Alright, let me make that thing a group again. Make it a group, not a component. That one. Accidentally did that. Make it a group. Everything is now grouped again. Okay. So these are all my pieces that I need to make in order to make that box. Now my laser cutter will only cut to a certain size. The largest thing I can fit in my laser cutter is about 10.5 by 11, or no, 10.5 by 19.5. So I'm going to make a rectangle 10.5 by 19.5. I'm going to make that a group. Oops, did not want a component on a group. I'm then going to lay my pieces out on top of that. Oh, actually, two of these things are going to be acrylic. So I'm going to lay them out separately. I'm only going to lay the things that I want to make out of a single material. So this piece and this piece are both going to be made out of particle board. You can go ahead and put these things right up to each other, although I can help you with that later on. They can touch each other. That's not going to be an issue, except for when they overlap each other like these two are. Certainly nothing should be overlapping. Remember guys, a much simpler design is probably called for by you. I'm doing a much more complicated one because I want to make sure that I provide enough interesting stuff for those of you who are trying to challenge yourselves. Don't feel like you have to do a dice box. You know, make what makes you happy. Well, it looks like this is going to fit on one piece of wood. That's nice, because I'm going to cut the other pieces out of acrylic. This piece of material that I buy from Home Depot cost me 75 cents. So this entire box is going to cost me, you know, the time that I put into it, plus 75 cents in materials, which is really not a lot to be fussed about. Alright, so there's all of that. And I can copy and paste this. And escape. Put this thing over here. The acrylic's a little more expensive, but not enough to be fussed about either, really. There we go. Alright, so now I've got everything. These two pieces are acrylic. These pieces are all masonite, or I'm not sure what that board is called. It's called draft board. I think some people call it draft board. Okay, so to create the file that you're going to need to send me, you're going to do view, camera, standard, top, so you're looking straight down at it. You're going to zoom in so that all you see on the screen is the stuff you want to cut out. You're going to delete the background piece. Each of these pieces you're going to edit, and you're going to delete the surfaces. Okay. Now, it is important that you remember to do this next step. Do you see how thick that dark line is up there? That's because it's looking at it from perspective. It's trying to make it look better to your eye, and because it's got thickness to it. You want to go to camera, parallel projection. That is going to get rid of all perspective. So now we basically have a line drawing that will tell my laser where to cut. Okay? So I'm looking straight down from the top view. I am looking from a parallel projection instead of perspective. See the difference? Okay. Then you're going to go File, Export, 2D Graphic, and you're going to choose down in here where it says PDF. Mine does not say PDF because I do not have SketchUp Pro. If you do not get SketchUp Pro, then you're going to send me this entire SketchUp file, and I'm going to get SketchUp Pro at some point. But you're going to send me this entire file. Okay? Alright. I also need you to tell me something about the file. In fact, I'm going to have you leave that original rectangle. The one that was 10.5, comma 19.5. I want you to leave that rectangle in place. I'm going to need that information in order to be able to size this thing. So you're going to leave it like this. Your work's going to look like that. I need the original 10.5 by 19.5 square, a rectangle. I need this from the top view. Perspective is in parallel projection. File, Export, 2D Graphic, PDF. And with that information, I can laser cut out your work for you. So over here, we would do this. Explode. We're going to delete the inside of that. Edit group. Boom, boom. Close. Edit group. Boom, boom. And then that's the picture you would send me for that. Okay, you'd send me a PDF file. Alright. So that was a bit more work than I expected. Let me go back to this. Oh, see how weird that looks all of a sudden? It looks wrong, something's wrong. That's because of that parallel projection. The perspective is going to make it look better. See, look, here we go, and boom. Looks better. Alright, so now I've got a dice box, and when you guys come over next week, I'll have this dice box cut out. In fact, I'll show it to you sometime this week. Alright, that's the end.